Whoo, man, do we have a lot to cover for you guys today. We've had a lot happen in the sports world this past week since our last episode. We've got the semifinal breakdown of the college football playoff. We've got the breakdown of the NFL wildcard week. The Cowboys and Mike McCarthy are parting ways. Who are they going to hire next? A lot more to come. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Gibby Knows Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Big Gibby. I'm joined here today with my little brother, Little Gibby. Today we're going to talk a bunch of different things. Okay, Seth, you had a few words that you wanted to say at the beginning?
Yeah, we're trying to get to 100 subscribers before February 1st, so please go on our YouTube channel and like and subscribe. I think we're at 85 right now, so we're almost there. So thanks for the love and support. We're also on Instagram. We're on TikTok. Hopefully TikTok will stay afloat. We'll see about that in the future. But like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Whenever we post on our Facebook, we'll have the link provided, so you can just click on it, like and subscribe, share. Appreciate it.
All right, so let's get right into it. Okay, we're going to start with the college football playoff semifinal round. Okay, we had Notre Dame taking on Penn State, and we had Ohio State taking on Texas. Okay, Seth, give us your thoughts of the first game this past weekend with Notre Dame defeating Penn State to move on to the national championship.
Like I said in the previous podcast, I love this matchup. Far as both teams are kind of similar. We kind of figured that this game would be pretty tough either way. Two good coaches, James Franklin and Marcus Freeman, going at it. It was a grind. It was probably the most entertaining game so far in the college football playoff, in my opinion. Besides the double overtime with Texas Arizona State, but this game was exciting. It was just smash mouth football, running the ball, play action. We saw a lot of good things from both sides. Ultimately, Notre Dame come out on top. I think Marcus Freeman was brilliant the last 5 minutes of the game with his just scheming up his time management and play management. I think that was just wonderful by him. But James Franklin did a great job as well. Just Notre Dame came on top, and I haven't seen the line yet on who's going to be favored. I imagine Ohio State will be favored in the national championship, but I'm curious to see how much. And I'm fixing to look that up right now.
Yeah, I mean, it went the way that we both thought it would. I had Notre Dame winning that game. I thought that it was a great game. Like you said, you're one really bad Drew Aller decision away from that game going to overtime. And then who knows who comes out on top there. But the back and forth nature of it was
very
super awesome to watch. I thought that Notre Dame just made enough plays to win the game, and that's usually what it comes down to, is which team's going to make more plays in crunch time, and them to tie it up there or to take the lead there or to tie it up there at the end before the Drew Aller pick was an awesome drive to watch them drive down the field and score a touchdown. That takes a lot of guts to win a close game like that with your season on the line. I was really pleased with the way the defense played. They did exactly what I thought they were going to do. They played almost exclusively man coverage the entire night, and they forced Drew Aller to beat him, and he couldn't do it. I don't think he completed one pass to anybody other than Tyler Warren the entire night. So anytime you shut down a team's receivers completely and make it all about the run game and the tight end, I mean, you make a team very one-dimensional, and that's what happened to Penn State.
And Notre Dame to freak out too. Warren got several play packages where he lined up at quarterback and then would run out, line up at running back, and they didn't panic and they didn't let those plays, maximize and get them to bad situations. I think that was just coaching on Notre Dame's part. And what I loved about this game is that you just kind of like the Texas-Ohio State game, you just saw a lot of NFL bodies on the field. Like there's a lot of NFL players that were playing in both of these games this week or last weekend. And it was just fun to watch. It was entertaining because the first few weeks of the college football playoff, you had some blowouts, you had some games where even if they were a little bit tight as far as scoreboard, you just kind of knew that one team was going to win it. But this game was just kind of back and forth. Like you said, one bad pass away from it being, Penn State's favor. So it was a great game.
All right, so let's move to the game and the matchup that we were kind of all waiting for. The whole country tuned into that game, the Ohio State-Texas game. Give us your thoughts before I dive into it.
Well, Ohio State fans kind of ripped me in the beginning, and I did not believe at the beginning of this college football playoff that Ohio State would be in this situation. Obviously, they proved a lot of people wrong, and on the flip side of that, some people just believe that they'd be here from the get go. They're loaded. That's a stacked roster. Will Howard, if he plays the way he's been playing with his toughness and just making the plays he needs to make, don't make mistakes, they're going to be tough to beat. And their defense is just tremendous. They're tremendous. When a few podcasts ago we said something about 8 out of 11 starters on defense are probably going to be NFL players. That's no joke. That is the Texas team is full of NFL bodies too. Ewers he's a good quarterback, great quarterback to some. I mean, you could just see it. He looks a little bit rattled. They're getting after the quarterback. Ohio State's defense is just fast. They're ferocious. They just play with a physicality that's unmatched. Maybe someone like Georgia can match up like that, but they're just tough. It's just a tough team to beat.
Yeah, it was a pretty disappointing loss, I think, for Texas. On one hand, they came to the game as a 7-point underdog, and a lot of people thought that it was going to be more than that. They were expecting a blowout after what Ohio State had done to the previous two opponents in the college football playoff. I wasn't convinced. I knew that this defense was more than capable of handling the onslaught of the Ohio State offense.
They did a great job.
If you'd have told me before the game that Jeremiah Smith was going to be handled for one catch for 3 yards, like that was all he was going to get, and you told me Texas was going to lose the game, I would have said you're insane. Like, it's crazy. And I've had this talk with some of my coaching buddies, but the football season is a grind. We're at the end of a very long season. We've got one game left, but all these guys, all these kids, all these coaches have gone through, a spring football season. They've gone through a summer and fall season. They've gone through the actual playing of all the games, and it comes down to one stinking yard. Texas had a chance there at the goal line to tie the game. They had first and goal at the 1 after 2 straight penalties by Ohio State. They get stuffed on first down, take a loss on second down, can't complete a ball on third down, and then obviously the absolute backbreaker, the strip sack. Jack Sawyer absolutely
he's a beast,
defeating the the right tackle for the Longhorns, and the ball bounces right to him, and he takes it to the house. I mean, that was a shocking end to that game because it was much closer, obviously, than the 14 points that ended up deciding it.
You're 1 yard away from tying it up or possibly taking the lead. Going back to that, a lot of people on social media, it was all over, ESPN outlets, Fox Sports 1. A lot of people took issue with Sark's play calling there at the end. Do you take issue with that, or would you? It's kind of just not execution on the player's part.
Well, I mean, obviously, every play that any offensive guy draws up on the whiteboard, like that it's supposed to score. Sarkisian has addressed that play call, the second down play call specifically, where they, run the toss to Jaden Blue, and Caleb Downs makes a great play. And he talked specifically about it. Kelvin Banks, the left tackle, All-American type player, he's addressed it. It's something that they had planned on the entire week leading up to the game. It was one of their goal line plays, and they felt really confident in it. So it's hard to knock Sark because I thought he called a pretty good game. I mean, Texas was in a position to win it, and yeah, it comes down to execution, and they were out executed on that play. I would have liked to have seen Arch Manning in that situation. I think too many times Texas has gotten down to the goal line and been stuffed on the first attempt. And typically, if you've watched all their games this year, when they get stopped on the first attempt, they go wide. They go outside the tackle box.
They abandoned.
And you can tell Ohio State was ready for it. To me, that's they had done it earlier in the game to convert on a short yardage situation. put Arch back there and make the defense defend an extra offensive hat.
100%.
And if you get stuffed, you get stuffed. Okay, now you
100%.
still got 2 more
Yeah.
downs to go to your other bag of tricks.
And
I don't know. I would have liked to have seen him get a chance there.
that was the
But
heat. That was the heat he was taking, is because like Arch Manning just provides. Say what you want, Ewers deserves. He's a starter. He's a QB. But in that situation with Arch Manning, if you give him 4 plays a yard away, like he got a long frame, big frame. He can run. He's mobile. If something was to go wrong, he's able to extend it just a little bit to give time.
yeah.
On the flip side, Ewers is not. He's not that quarterback.
Now I will say this, okay, and I don't know if I've seen a lot of people talking about it. I saw somebody post about this on X on Twitter, but Arch, after the one run that he converted on, you remember that was where the whole fumble, did he not fumble type of play. If you go back and watch that play, he gets smoked right in the back of the helmet. And after the game, somebody posted a video of him walking around, in the post game celebration, Ohio State's, on the field, and everybody's shaking hands, and he's walking around the field without his helmet. So some people speculate, well, the reason they didn't go to Arch there is because he wasn't available, that he got his bell rocked a little
Could have
bit.
been. I wish they would
So,
just tell us that, though.
well, yeah. But, I mean, if that's the case, then I completely give Sark a pass, because maybe that was one of their situations where they might have gone to Arch.
So before we move on, do you think Ewers is coming back, or is he going to go to NFL transfer?
No, I think Ewers is gone. I think whether it's the NFL, I think it's too early to kind of tell.
Done deal. It's Arch Manning
But
time
yeah,
now.
I think the baton has already been passed. I think Arch and Quinn both probably have a pretty good relationship, but I think Quinn knows it's time to move on. He's had 2 cracks at it. He's had 2 really good opportunities. I think he'll go down when people look back, as one of the best, especially one of the best Texas quarterbacks to ever play.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of crap because, he's the quarterback for the Longhorns, and I think, just he gets a lot of negative publicity, but I mean, the guy's been rock solid. He played really well in that game. He throws a pick there at the end of the game, but you could tell, like, after the defensive touchdown, like, the wind was out of their sails. Ohio State's rushing 4 guys and playing Tampa 2 coverage, and he doesn't see Caleb Downs just sinking right there in the middle, and he throws the ball right to him. They weren't going to come back and win that game regardless. They didn't have enough time. So I don't fault him for that. But up to that point, I felt like he played really well.
And I've said my piece about Ewers, in the past, wanting Arch Manning just because I prefer Arch Manning. But as far as all-time greats for Texas in an era where we've changed with transfer portal, all this stuff, like, you have every reason to not be successful and stuff. But he managed to bring Texas back to 2 really good years, college football playoff, and now the real college football playoff this year, SEC championship game. You lose to Georgia, but still one hell of a game there, and then you're 1 game away from the national championship in an era where it's a lot harder now to get there. And it's just, he had one hell of a run. Like I said, it's just time to pass the torch, but he should be looked at as one of the all-time greats.
There's rumors that he's getting, $1 million offers, multi-million-dollar offers from Big Ten schools, and nobody's kind of come out and said who that is, if that's even true or not. If it were me, and if I had the advice to give to Quinn, I would tell him to come back for another year, especially because he's going to make more in college with an NIL deal than he is going to as a rookie, in the NFL, unless he was going to get drafted in the first round, which I just don't see that happening for him yet. But if he can go to a 3rd school and perform the way he did, even close to this year, and stay healthy, play the whole year, his draft stock's only going to rise.
I've heard 2 schools. I've heard 2 Big Ten rivals, Michigan and Ohio State. And that Ohio State one, the more I think about it, it's a little bit more intriguing that he goes in there, and that'd be a shot in the heart if he went to Ohio State, and then Ohio State is loaded with talent just like Texas is, and they go back to this basically repeat or whatever. But I could see it. Wasn't he committed to Ohio State at the beginning, or went to Ohio State.
He played Ohio
I
State.
played Ohio State, and then came to
I
Texas.
think he played maybe 1 or 2 snaps his freshman
Are
year,
you
but
allowed to go back to the school?
yeah,
So I
I
mean,
would
it
I would
could,
not be surprised if he ends up at Ohio State. Honestly,
and I think he'd do one hell of a job.
oh
Can you
yeah, for
imagine? Can
sure.
you imagine him throwing? Because he's a pocket guy. Can you imagine him throwing to those receivers?
Oh yeah,
It'd be
especially
lethal.
if Chip Kelly sticks around and continues to lead the offense. I mean,
100%.
Quinn would make them automatically the favorites next year to win it. I
Yeah,
believe.
because they wouldn't have any drop off at quarterback. You can make the argument that it's a little bit better than Will
Oh
Howard.
yeah,
So
to me he's a better thrower of the football than Will Howard. I think you know, like I said, he gets a terrible knock at times because he's Quinn Ewers and he's the quarterback for the Longhorns.
yeah,
But
and he's got Arch Manning behind his back.
yeah, and
Everyone's going to say
but
that.
no, I think Texas fans, if he does go to another college and he's playing against us next year, like they're gonna be realizing that, well, we missed that guy quite a bit. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the NFL wildcard week. Man, it
Oh
was a
yeah,
wild week.
I
I went
love it.
5-1 on my picks this past week. I think that's
God,
pretty good.
he's up.
Uh,
He's beating me by one game right now.
did a little bit better than you. Let's start with the game that I was wrong about. It was the first game of the week. It was the Chargers and the Texans.
I got a
The
lot to say about
Chargers,
this game.
the Chargers
A lot.
just did not show up. Okay, and obviously the Texans win that game. They move on to face the Chiefs. Okay, give us your thoughts, Seth, before I get really upset about Justin Herbert.
I have a lot to say about this because I am not a big Justin Herbert fan. And me and you both came on this podcast and we're talking about CJ Stroud because everybody was coming after him saying that he was sophomore slump. He wasn't as good as his rookie year. CJ Stroud is really darn good quarterback. He plays for high pressure moments. He never backs down. He's competitive. He has some of that Mahomes as kind of whenever he's needed the most, he's going to find a way. Dude's been hurt all year long. Hasn't played a great. Has had banged up receivers. Has a terrible O line, and is still going to the playoffs. Hearing all that talk about Justin Herbert being elite, 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 and all you can see and hear about on ESPN, Fox Sports, any kind of podcast that you see that Justin Herbert is a top 5 QB in the NFL. No, sir, not even close. Okay, Justin Herbert is a Brookshire's brand version of Josh Allen. That's what he is. He's a Brookshire's brand of Josh Allen. He's not even close to them. And I would
What
not
you
even.
got against Brookshire's, man?
Brookshire's is great. Brookshire's is great. But let's be honest here. He is not even close. If you even say he's in the same conversation as Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, or Lamar, you're just dumb. You're not looking at the game. You're looking at him just throwing a pretty ball because he's big and strong. He can throw the ball 70 yards. He can throw it on a dime. But that's not just playing the quarterback. Everything, all the intangibles lined up to play the NFL, be an NFL quarterback. And we've seen it. We've had some kind of blueprint resume. It doesn't look good. And when he's needed most, he shrinks away. And his 4 interceptions this weekend were bad. You could tell who the best quarterback on the field was. It wasn't him. It was C.J. Stroud. Yeah, your turn.
Yeah, he was 14 of 32 for one
Bad.
touchdown and 4 interceptions. And going into the game, the thing that made me think, okay, well, the Chargers are going to take care of business. They're going to beat the Texans. Was they've got one of the best defenses in the league, and it's hard to play defense when you turn the ball over that many times. So I mean, it put their defense in a bind the whole game. They're playing from behind, and for whatever reason, they just could not get the passing game going outside of Lad McConkey. I mean, he was the one bright spot for the Chargers in this game. Really should probably be the NFL Rookie of the Year. I don't know who's going to win the AFC Rookie of the Year, but he should definitely be in consideration for it. I mean, he set a rookie record. I think he had 9 catches for like 190 yards and a
Yeah,
touchdown.
he's a
I mean,
fantasy wizard too.
yeah, he played really well. But other than that, I mean, the Chargers didn't have a bright spot, and they laid a complete egg
Complete egg.
uh, as a favorite there in the playoffs. And there's a lot of questions moving forward with Harbaugh. I think, I think he had a better season than what many anticipated. But they've got some holes to fill and some things to look at pretty closely this offseason with the performance that offense put out on the field in the biggest game of the year.
Yeah, 100%. And it's one of those things where, like, don't sleep on D'Amico Ryans. Like, he is kind of like Dan Campbell has transformed this Texans team into, I want to say maybe a legitimate contender, but they're a team that's here and it's going to be here for a while, and they can make some noise. I mean, he's got a good defensive mind. Their defense is it's really good, and they play very together, like kind of what Dan Campbell has with the Lions. They have a really good culture, and they got a good quarterback. So give credit to D'Amico Ryans, man. He is one heck of a coach.
Yeah, I mean, this game, it wasn't just about, how bad the Chargers were. It's also about how good the Texans defense was,
Yeah,
especially. I
they look
mean,
good.
they have they have two corners, especially with Stingley. I mean, they can cover anybody in the league. So they are going to match up with the Chiefs, and we'll talk more about our predictions for the divisional round in a later episode. But the Chiefs are going to have their hands full, and it's not going to be a walk in the park like some people think it is,
No,
because of those corners and their ability to cover.
I
All right,
think
so
the
let's
Texans
move
defense.
into the
Yeah,
what?
I think the Texans defense, and I think C.J. Stroud is going to rise to the occasion, and he might not beat Mahomes, but he's not going to lay an egg.
No, for sure. All right, so the next game we had was the Steelers and Ravens.
Mm,
We both had the Ravens in this. We both kind of felt the game
Easy,
was going to go the same
easy money.
way, that the Texans would. I'm not sorry, the Texans. The Ravens would be able to run the football. They were going to make more plays than the Steelers were able to. And really, this game we thought was over at halftime. The Steelers did come back out and show a little bit of life, but ultimately it was just not enough to keep up with the Ravens. I mean, their offense right now, looks pretty unstoppable.
This game was over when it was scheduled in the playoffs. Seriously, uh, there's going to be some serious talks, or needs to be some serious talks moving forward about the Steelers organizations. Uh, they're a prestigious organization in the NFL. Steelers is kind of like the Cowboys, as far as like that's just tradition. It's one of the top tier franchises in the entire sports world. Mike Tomlin is a good coach. We're starting to figure out maybe he's just a good coach, maybe not the great coach that we all thought he was at one point. Uh, they're always going to be good enough to make it, but he's six straight one and done in the playoffs. That's not the standard for the Steelers. They look like they're just in a standstill, don't know what they're doing, don't have a quarterback, and don't look like none coming soon. I think there's going to be some changes at the head job for the Steelers. If not, then you're going to look at another year where they're going to coast into the playoffs, they're going to win the games they need to, but they're never truly going to be a contender until they have some kind of change. Because this game was not even close. It wasn't even close. Lamar, Derrick Henry, just way too much. Just not even close. And we kind of all knew that. I think everybody in the sports world knew that this game was going to be the way it came out. And it's sad because the Steelers and Ravens used to have such a amazing rivalry, for the last 2 decades. And I mean, it sucks to see a rivalry like this when this is the third time they played the season, and it was just a blowout. You just knew it from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know where the Steelers go from here. I mean, I think, like you said, at this point, it's just been a lot of mediocrity, and that's not what the Steelers fans or organization really expect from them. I think that Russell Wilson has his moments, but I just don't think he's the long term answer. So do you go out and get a quarterback this year? I don't know. I think it will all really depend on what they do with Mike Tomlin. I think he will be a pretty highly sought after coach if they were to let him go. But like I said, I mean, or like you said earlier, I mean, the the Steelers weren't supposed to win this game. They barely snuck into the playoffs. They did not end the season on a very high note after starting out, as one of the best teams in the league record wise, and they just run into a buzzsaw that is the Ravens. The Ravens with Lamar and Derrick Henry now in the backfield, like
That's tough.
They can run the ball, man, and the team that can stop them from running the football will be the team that beat them. I don't think it'll be the Bills next week, but like I said, we'll talk about that more in the next episode. But the Ravens did what they've been doing to people all year. They run the ball with Derrick Henry. They'll run some read game, some option type stuff with Lamar, and he'll do just enough in the passing game uh, to win. I mean, he wasn't, particularly special in this game throwing the football, but he was incredibly efficient. I mean, he was 16 of 21 for 175 yards, and they rushed for almost 300 yards as a team.
How much
So, I
better
mean,
has he gotten at passing the football though? Like just making the routine plays that he needs to. Like it's just he's gotten night and day better since he started.
no, yeah, for sure. I mean,
Lamar, yeah.
and both of us addressed last week about how he needed this game. Like Lamar needed to show up and needed to play well in order to kind of quiet some of the talk from the media and from fans about how he just doesn't get it done in big games. You could argue, was this really a big game for them? This was a game they were supposed to win by double digits. But he was able to do that. And I think he at least quieted for a week. Some of the doubters and some of the haters. He played fantastic in this game.
The next one's a big one for him.
Yeah.
For his legacy, the next one for both of them, it's a big one.
Yeah. All right, so let's get to the third game. Okay, that was the Broncos taking on the Bills.
Mm-hmm.
The start of this game was pretty rocky for the Bills, and I think for a lot of people, they thought, "Oh my gosh, are the Broncos going to do it? Are they going to show up and beat the Bills?" And the Bills said, "No, hold on a sec, that's not going to happen."
Well, for me, if you're a Broncos fan, you have to be still happy with the season you got.
Yeah,
I think the Broncos are just ahead of schedule right now. I think next year they'll be even better. It looks like they have their quarterback. Bo Nix looks like he's going to be a really good quarterback. Him and Sean Payton work really well together. And things just came out. Bo Nix was playing with like 2 broken bones or something in his back or something like that.
Yeah, I saw
which
that.
is crazy. But just go speak to the toughness of Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix is going to get better and better. Okay, so especially in Sean Payton's system, I just think the Bills and Josh Allen, which over time, just too much in the game. This is really Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson's moment. They go win the AFC, and I think, like we said in the last podcast, Josh Allen's got a lot to lose. Like it's Super Bowl or bust for them right now. Like he has his eyes set on one thing, and it's not the Broncos. Like they were going to win this game. Bo Nix came out there to that long touchdown pass. Like, oh, it's about to be like the Cincinnati Bengals game. But give credit to the Bills and Josh Allen settling down, not panicking. They've been here before. They've been in some big games, big moments. Their eyes is on a bigger prize than wild card weekend.
Yeah, I mean that was kind of my takeaway was the Broncos jump out 7-0, and then the Bills just take over the game and score 31 straight unanswered points. And don't let the Broncos score again. But like Josh Allen was almost perfect. He was almost flawless in this game. James Cook, ran the ball really well. If they can run the ball like that throughout the playoffs, then then they'll be really tough to beat. The Bills historically, when they've gotten into these playoff moments, to me, they've become too Josh Allen centric. He's got to be Superman for them to beat, the Chiefs or the Bengals or whoever they match up with. But if Cook can take some of that load off of his back and shoulder some of the running game responsibility, and he did a really good job in pass pro. I think they need big plays from their other contributors other than Josh Allen if they're going to continue to win in the playoffs.
Yep. And they have Amari Cooper, and ever since he got traded over there, it's like he's not. You almost forget he's playing with them, and then you'll get like a third down situation, like Amari Cooper catch.
Yeah.
Like I don't know why he's not installed in more of their offensive game plan. Maybe he still learned the playbook or whatnot, or it's just kind of Josh Allen's style of play doesn't really match up or mesh together. But I mean, talk about this fourth down play that Josh Allen throws the ball 30 yards into the end zone.
Yeah,
how many
that was
quarterbacks can
insane.
do that?
Had over 7 seconds of time to throw that ball.
The dude is a beast, and he will stand in the pocket to the very last moment and try to. He'll take a hit, but most of the time they just bounce off because he's so big.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into the next game. It was the first of the NFC slate. We had the Packers and the Eagles.
Yeah.
Okay, the Packers go into Philly, and kind of like the Chargers-Texans game, it was very sloppy from Jordan Love. The Packers just couldn't seem to get anything going offensively, and the Eagles just ran the ball, wherever they wanted and took control of the game.
And I've been on record thinking that Jordan Love was going to turn out to be elite, but kind of like Justin Herbert, the more he throws, it's like they do not want him to throw more than what he needs to throw because he just still makes boneheaded plays, boneheaded decisions. He's got, just like Herbert, he's got all the arm talent in the world. He has all of the physical attributes to be really good quarterback. It's a lot more up here than it is than people realize. He just makes dumb mistakes. Really hurts you more than helps you, And with teams like the Eagles, that just falls into the game plan. They're just going to run the ball, eat up the clock. You make a mistake, it's game over. And I didn't think either side was impressive. Eagles are the Eagles. We kind of knew what they're going to do. They're going to run the ball. I got Saquon Barkley, and if it's 3rd down and 2 or 4th and 1, you're going to do the same push stuff with Jalen Hurts. I'm still not a big believer in Jalen Hurts. Every time he throws the ball, it just doesn't look right to me. But
yeah, I think the big takeaway from that game was also like just how poor the Eagles' offense looked after that first drive.
AJ Brown on the sideline.
Yeah, you had that AJ Brown. He's a scholar, I guess. He was reading a book on the sideline. Apparently,
he had no catches.
Apparently, that's something he's done before, though. So it wasn't just that game. But either way, it's just not a good look. And he's been pretty vocal this whole year about some of the issues he's had apparently with Jalen Hurts, and they've both have kind of swept it under the rug and not come out and told everybody what they're thinking. But we can all tell there's just no chemistry there between those two guys. If it weren't for Saquon Barkley and the Eagles having the best pass defense in the league, I would not feel very confident about this team.
No.
In our bracket, I picked the Eagles to advance, and we're going to talk about the Rams game here in a sec, but I do not feel good about the matchup next week with the Rams. And if I'm the Eagles watching that game tape from last night, I'm probably shaking in my boots a little bit and figuring out, oh my gosh, how are we going to move this ball now on a much improved Rams secondary as well.
That's healthy.
But, I mean, with Saquon Barkley healthy and running the ball behind that offensive line, you got a chance. And if they get up on teams, if you get up to a 10-point lead or it's a 12-point lead, and you're forced to throw, well, you're going to run the same issue that Jordan Love have, and that's you're going to throw picks. Vic Fangio has come in as the defensive coordinator for this team and completely flipped the script in 1 year. I mean, they were like the last ranked defense last year as a team, and he's made them one of the top defenses, and they do have the number 1 secondary in the league. So kudos to him and the Eagles for getting that right. Because, I mean, we know, if you can run the ball and play good defense, you're going to be in most games. I'm not confident in Jalen Hurts at all.
No.
I don't think if you ask him to win you the game, I don't think he can do it.
Nope. He's got to play with the lead.
He benefits from having perhaps the best supporting cast maybe in the entire league, offensively and defensively.
He is elite. He is Devontae Smith. You got AJ Brown, Saquon Barkley, your offensive line, and then like you said, you talk about the defense. He's surrounded, and he's got a great tight end. He's surrounded by great talent. But they're kind of like the Bills. If Saquon Barkley goes down, they're kind of screwed. So
yeah, for sure.
Let's move on. Let's go different. The Rams game or who was next.
All right, so we got the Commanders and the Bucks.
Oh, yeah.
This is one I'm pretty happy about because I picked the Commanders in this game. I was very confident in Jayden Daniels' ability to come in as a rookie, because of what we just mentioned, he does have a pretty good supporting cast around him, and he seems to just not make the mistakes that some of these other quarterbacks have made in the playoffs, which is very rare for a guy,
Yeah.
In their first year. But they made enough plays on defense to stop Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers offense. If it's not for that really terribly timed mishap on
Golly.
the handle of the handoff on that sweep play, maybe it's a different story. But the Commanders kind of channeled their inner Lions, and Dan Campbell. They went for it on fourth down several times in that game, and the touchdown that ended up winning the game. And that was a fourth down play, and
Yeah.
and Jane Daniels just was able to stay in the pocket and show a bunch of poise and not get rattled and deliver a strike to McLaurin there in the end zone. That was really impressive performance from Daniels and the
Yeah.
entire Commanders team.
Dan Quinn has done a fantastic job. I mean, you hate to see him go from the Cowboys, but kind of like the Broncos, they're ahead of schedule. They're going to get better and better, which is scary for a Cowboys fan because Jaden Daniels is legit. You could say he's the next Lamar Jackson. He probably throws, in my opinion, throws a better ball than Lamar does, and he's got the poise. He's a Heisman Trophy winner. He's been in big games, big moments. Nothing's too big for him, which is awesome to see. And as a coach, you put all that faith into your rookie quarterback going for it on fourth downs in the playoffs. That's a lot of confidence you instill in not just the quarterback, but the entire team, so they can rally behind the rookie quarterback. And it's very dangerous. I kind of like the Rams. Those two teams, you don't want to play those teams right now because they have just kind of this mysterious camaraderie going on within the locker room. Jaden Daniels is legit, and he's not going away anywhere. So the league's going to have to deal with this for a while, just kind of like the Lamar situation. You have to figure out a game plan to be able to stop his ability to pass and then his ability to run, which is incredible. I mean, this dude. I don't know if you saw it was a 3rd down and 8 run where he's running around the pocket to the left side, escapes to the right. Looks like he's running for 20 yards, but it's only like a 6 or 7 yard gain. What are you supposed to do as a defense? You're in secondary and you win the matchup. You got them all covered, but you forgot there's a little mini Lamar running around in the pocket.
I will say the one thing that Daniels has got to do a better job of moving forward is protecting himself. There's a couple times in that game where he's running down the sideline and takes some shots. You and I both know, I mean, quarterbacks in this league that are mobile like him and depend on their legs to make plays, they've got to stay healthy. And that's my worry with him is he's not a big guy.
Really skinny,
he's not,
lean.
Yeah, he's not Josh Allen out of the pocket. He's not going to be able to take a bunch of hits in his career and continue to perform. So, Jane Daniels, if you're listening to this, stay healthy, bud.
Okay, we both compared him to Robert Griffin. Kind of like that same situation. You just got to take care of your body.
Yeah, I think people forget. I mean, Robert Griffin,
excellent.
His rookie year was also amazing. He reminds me a lot of Robert Griffin, but that was the knock on him was he couldn't stay healthy. He kept getting hit. He kept taking shots. He kept sliding awkwardly. So Daniels has just got to figure that out. All right, so let's go into the last 2 games. The last game, sorry, of the week. That was last night. That was Monday night. The showdown with the Vikings and the Rams. I felt good about this one too because I picked the Rams to beat the Vikings. I just felt like it was a poor matchup for the Vikings. They've only lost 4 games all year. They lost twice to the Lions and twice to the Rams. For whatever reason, they couldn't seem to beat those 2 teams. I thought the recipe for the Rams' success was a little different than what ended up happening. I thought, they were going to run the ball all over the Vikings. Well, really, Stafford opened that game, throwing it all over them, and really took advantage of the aggressiveness on some plays of Brian Flores' defense. We mentioned before last week that he's a guy that likes to pressure a lot. He likes to come after the quarterback, and Stafford did a really good job early on of finding the holes in the defense and making them pay when they did pressure. They just did a really good job of keeping a tempo in the offense, and they never felt like they were behind the chains very much. And they had a successful game plan, obviously defensively. I mean, they sacked Sam Darnold 9 times. I think that ties a playoff record, if I'm not mistaken. And they just made it a living hell for him the whole night.
Yeah, I'll go to the Vikings side, man. I figured, I picked the Rams to win. I figured they'd win, but I was really rooting for Sam Darnold. You hate to see that, especially, because now there's all this contract negotiations going on. Are they going to move off from him? Are they going to franchise tag him? Or is it time for J.J. McCarthy? It's not looking too good for Sam Darnold right now as far as, you lay your worst 2 games a year come in the 2 biggest games and 2 biggest moments in the entire season. No one cares what you did in the regular season. This is what matters. This is what you get paid for as a quarterback. To get paid what he wants to get paid. Now, other teams see this. Okay, maybe he don't deserve that kind of money that we're going to pay a top tier quarterback because he didn't show it. So you got all that kind of things. I think Sam Darnold deserves the money still. But you hate to see a player lose his money like that. I think he still deserves it. I think it was just bad 2 games at the worst times possible. The Rams, like we said, going into this matchup, just was not a good matchup for the Vikings overall. And it's hard to blame them about the Lions. The Lions were just amazing, a few weeks ago. And it's just I hate it for Sam Darnold. I hope he does. I hope he stays with the Vikings. If he doesn't stay with the Vikings, I hope some team will pay him, because if you start looking around the league, Sam Darnold's better than a lot of the quarterbacks they're playing right now. 100%. I'd take Sam Darnold and some of these kids in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I just watching Kevin O'Connell's reaction after some of the sacks he was taking or some of the throws he was making. It just seemed like he was over it. I do not foresee the Vikings bringing him back. I think they're ready to move on and start the next chapter with J.J. McCarthy. And yeah, like you said, you saved your 2 worst games for the last 2 you played, which sucks. But you did win 14, so that's a lot to build on moving forward. So hopefully McCarthy is ready to step in, and hopefully he learned a lot this year.
It's going to be good, I think.
I don't know what the market's going to be for Sam Darnold. I'm sure another team will give him a shot on another 1-year improve-it deal. Can you replicate the success? But that's the league we're in. I mean, the NFL's cutthroat, and it's a very much a what have you done for me lately league. And
100%.
These last 2 losses are going to sit on a lot of people's minds, especially NFL GMs and owners moving forward into the offseason.
Yeah, 100%. I agree.
All right, so that's it for the the wild card round. Our divisional matchups, and we'll talk more about this at the later date. You've got the first game Saturday. You've got the Texans at the Chiefs. You've got the Commanders at the Lions Saturday night. The first game Sunday, you've got the Eagles and the Rams, and then Sunday night's game, you've got the Bills and the Ravens, which I think most people would say is the game of the divisional round right there.
That's awesome.
But I think we're going to get 4 pretty good games.
Yeah.
And like I said, we'll talk more about that in a future podcast. But to move on, there was some big news in the NFL these past 2 days. Mike McCarthy and Dallas are parting ways. It's something that you have been calling for. It's something that I have been, kind of rooting against. But, the writing was on the wall and they agreed to part ways. I think this was handled so poorly once again, which my issue with the Cowboys hasn't been Mike McCarthy. It's been Jerry Jones. And once again, I feel like he has kind of shown that I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what he's thinking. Seth, give me your thoughts, and then I'll kind of tell you how I feel about the whole situation.
Okay, so this is kind of weird. It's going to be weird coming out of my mouth about Jerry Jones. But I am so happy and I'm so excited for the future of Dallas Cowboys. I think this was a step in the right direction for Jerry, because I've seen it before. I've seen the same crap in the same situation happen before with Jerry. The old Jerry would have signed Mike McCarthy again and just been the same old Dallas Cowboys, expect the same, expect the same. This is a step in the right direction. I think he is going to make the right move for the Dallas Cowboys moving forward. I'm excited for the future. When I saw the news, I was like, I can't believe it. Am I reading this wrong? I got to make sure this is the right. This guy verified on Twitter because I couldn't believe it. Because in my mind, I knew Jerry Jones was going to sign Mike McCarthy again. Okay, I think this is a step in the right direction. I think Jerry is feeling the heat more than ever now, just because social media is so big, and a lot of the news outlets and a lot of the media personalities, even Troy Aikman himself, are like turning on Jerry. And I think he feels the heat, and I think he's going to make the best decision for not only himself but the entire Dallas Cowboys fan base. Take it to the bank, and we're going to go over here in a second about what we think and who's going to be the next head coach.
See, my issue with the whole process is the exact same thing that happened with Dak's contract negotiations. He drug his feet. You know, these other NFL teams are out here looking for a head coach. They're interviewing guys all last week. What is Jerry Jones doing? He's going over the offseason plan and evaluating this past season with the coach instead of figuring out, hey, are we going to do this? Are you coming back? Are you not coming back? There's been, reports that the reason Mike McCarthy's moving on is because they couldn't come to a contract length agreement, which tells me one of two things. It tells me either A, that's bullcrap and that really wasn't even the case and that Jerry knew all along he was moving on, or two, that he was trying to get Mike McCarthy to buy into a 1-year deal. Like, come back and coach for 1 year. We'll do a 1-year contract. And if I'm Mike McCarthy, I'm doing exactly what he did. And I say, no, I'm not coaching under a 1-year contract. I'm using the whole, we've won 12 games, in a row, 3 years in a row. This year we had a bunch of injuries, so you kind of throw out that out the window. But my issue with this whole thing is Jerry's inability to make a decision. You say that, oh, he's changed, he sees the writing on the wall, it's time to be excited. Like, I'm not excited at all. Like, if you wanted to interview some of the top, offensive and defensive coordinator coaches that are available right now, the Ben Johnsons, the Aaron Glenns, the Spagnolas, like, now you got to wait. Like, you're stuck in a waiting period for all those coaches to finish their season because you drug your feet. You waited an entire week when you could have made this decision and gotten to interview some of those guys if that's really who you're targeting. My worry with Jerry is that he's going to hire somebody that he's comfortable with, right? I think guys like Kellen Moore, Deion Sanders, Jason Witten, these are all ex-Cowboys that we've heard names floated out about. He's apparently already talked to Deion on the phone. I know you would love for Deion Sanders to be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not sold on it. I mean, to me, like, if you're going to hire an NFL head coach, it needs to be somebody, one, with NFL coaching experience, and two, okay, it needs to be a guy that isn't going to bow to your every need and whim. And that's what Jerry wants. He's going to hire somebody that's a yes man and that's going to do exactly what he wants him to do. He's not going to give up control to this new guy, whoever it is. And you're kind of stuck in the same boat as you were with Mike McCarthy, which is you got a pretty decent coach. But like I said to you before we started the podcast, even Mike McCarthy, who, I think he's okay. I don't think he's the best coach of all time, but the dude was, without a job. He wasn't, we didn't steal him from another team. He wasn't, the hot offensive coordinator that, just operated the league's highest scoring offense. No, he was sitting on his couch in a den going over previous NFL tape with, his coaches or whatever. And that won him the job. But I mean, I'm honestly kind of fed up with the Cowboys, and I'm ready to turn in my fan card. especially if this hire does not go to somebody that I think it should be.
Well, let's dive right into it. What do you got for us? What do you want us to do? What do you want me to say? You mean give you my 5 or what?
I
I'll
just
break.
I know you love Dion, and I
I
think
got 5
Dion.
guys right here that I want the
All
Cowboys to
right,
beat.
give me your 5, and I'll tell you how terrible they are.
Okay, my number 1 pick is John Gruden. I'd love to see John Gruden. Okay, so what you just said, I think in my perspective, my fan perspective, I think Jerry Jones is feeling the heat. I think it's a little bit different now. I think he's a little older. I think he's starting to realize like, hey, like he's maybe got 5 to 10 years max left, and he wants a Super Bowl really, really bad. Okay, John Gruden, he's got a good relationship with them. John Gruden loves Dak Prescott. John Gruden is a major XO guy. He's a culture guy. Somebody with a big personality, someone with his own height, can maintain Jerry and would push back with Jerry. Now, do we in the past? We don't think Jerry would like that, but I'm saying it from a perspective that he's changed a little bit. I think John Gruden is the guy that can go in and match personality, and provide a culture change, which the Cowboys need. Okay, that's the number 1. My next guy will be Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator from the Detroit Lions. I think he is a prime example of Dan Campbell. He's already turned down 2 head coaching interviews because he's just so loyal and such a culture guy to Dan Campbell that he's already said he's not gonna do that stuff while the Lions are playing. And I think Aaron Glenn would be good. He's very well respected throughout the NFL. Former NFL players have already come out and say, this guy should be getting a head coach somewhere, which obviously some NFL teams are wanting to do. And we saw his masterpiece he did with the Vikings. My third pick would be Marcus Freeman. I know that's probably the longest shot. I love Marcus Freeman. I think he'd be great. He's young. Uh, he'd be really good in Dallas. And then my fourth one, I think, did I already do 4? No, the fourth one, I think Jason Witten, even though he don't have NFL experience, but I think someone that knows the reason and, knows what it's like to have a star on the helmet. And I think Jason Witten would bring in some guys. But my favorite pick, and I've seen a lot of people go, it's 50-50 on him being it, but I think primetime. I think Deion Sanders would be excellent. I think he would bring in an awesome staff, just like he did at Colorado, a staff that they didn't think was possible to bring to that level of football. I think he would bring in an awesome staff. His personality is bigger than Jerry Jones. He has a fantastic relationship. They said it was a love affair. Him and Deion Sanders and Jerry Jones said it's a love affair. He knows what it means to be a superstar in Dallas and have a star on his helmet. Uh, the players would love him. He would be a big culture guy. And like I said, he's bigger than the personality of all of Dallas. Like he's a guy that felt like can go in there right away. And he wouldn't, since he's such a good relationship with Jerry, he wouldn't mind going to the office and telling Jerry, hey, you need to stop. You need to do this. You need to do that. And I think Jerry Jones, if there's one person he would listen to, you can laugh all you want. If there's one person he listen to, it'd be primetime. And I said it a while back. I said this before Mike McCarthy was even let go, that primetime was going to come to Dallas. And you know that. So it's coming truth. You just watch. In the next few weeks, primetime will be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And then make it to the bank. We're going to the Super Bowl.
All right, I'll address all of these coaches from the bottom of your list, so I go up to the top. Starting with Dion. Not that I would hate Dion as the head coach. Right? I would not like it, and I'll tell you that reason why in a sec. But I'll tell you first the reason why I absolutely think it's not going to happen, and it's for all the reasons you just stated it would, and that's he's too big of a personality. Jerry Jones is the owner, president, GM. He just went on Landman. Great acting performance, by the way. I'll give him credit for that.
Very good.
Talking about why he bought the Cowboys. He's been on record in the past couple weeks saying he's going to do this until he dies. Like, Jerry has not changed. He has not changed at all. He's not going to hire a coach that's going to come in and be a bigger persona than him. He still does his weekly, radio show. He still does his post-game interviews. He's the only owner in the NFL that does a post-game interview with reporters. And Dion would come in and take some of that limelight away from him. And I just don't see him giving that up. Okay. I don't think Dion wants to coach anybody other than his son in the NFL, which there's no possible way that that's going to happen. You've got Dak Prescott, who's owed $104 million. You trade him, like I've been seeing on Twitter. These idiots don't even know what they're talking about. That's $104 million in dead cap money if you trade Dak right now. Like, that, nobody's doing that. That's stupid, okay? The first reason, all right, as to why I would not want Dion, even if all those reasons came untrue and, Jerry has changed his ways and he wants Dion to come in and be this bigger than life persona. I just don't think he's that good of a coach. I think he's a great recruiter. I think he had the benefit of having some really good players around him. But, I mean, yeah, he took Colorado from, a really bad team to a somewhat mediocre team and then an average team this year. I mean, a lot of people thought they were really, really good, and they turned out to be just average. I mean, you couldn't win the Big 12. I mean, you got slaughtered in your bowl game. Shadur looked awful in that bowl game. You had, the Heisman Trophy winner and, what most people think might be the top two picks of the draft. And, you don't win more than 10 games. Like, I just don't know how good of a coach he is. So you would have to have some really good offensive and defensive coordinators around him. And I don't know. I mean, I would be more worried about who he's going to hire as coordinators than I would him as head coach.
Can I add on to that?
Sure, go ahead.
I think with primetime, though, like you just said, with recruiting-wise, I think the free agents would flock up to come to Dallas to play for Dion. I think we would bring in free agents left and right. They'd be lining up at the door to come play for primetime. In my opinion.
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. I mean, it's not like college where you're going to go out and recruit these guys. Like, and that's the thing that I think you're missing in all this. Like, I just don't see Jerry handing the reins over. Like, who's the guy that brings in free agents? It's Jerry Jones. It's ultimately up to him. How come Dallas has not attracted many more free agents in the past? You didn't sign Derrick Henry this year when you had a chance to do it. Why not? It's not because, people didn't want to play for Mike McCarthy. It's people didn't want to come to Dallas because of Jerry. I mean, like, all these candidates you mentioned, okay, not that they're all bad, right? I just think there's the underlying reason why a lot of them won't work out is because of Jerry. Who was 4 on your list?
Jason Witten.
Okay. Oh my God. All right. Jason Witten, love the guy. He's one of my favorite Cowboys players of all time. Hell of a tight end, hell of a man. He's just won back-to-back state championships for his high school team that he's coaching. But it's high school, right? I think I'm a pretty good defensive coordinator here at a high school. I don't think I could be an NFL head coach. I'm not saying that me and Jason Witten are anywhere close to the same, but I just think that is a very large leap.
That's a big leap, yes.
To go from Colorado to the NFL is one thing. To go from, I think it's Argyle Christian, I think is where he's at. To go from high school to the NFL is a completely different ballgame. And I know Jason Witten has a ton of NFL experience, and the same thing that would happen with Dion is he'd have to hire some really great people around him. I don't see it. I don't think that that would be a very good hire. I just don't see it. 3 was what, Marcus Freeman. The dude makes $8 million at Notre Dame. They're about to play for a national championship.
That's just a dream.
I mean, we've talked about this off camera before, but like the big time college guys, they have everything they need. They've already got their staffs in place. They're already at these large premier programs. They've got tons of money to buy their players now. They're all making a buttload of money. Like, I'm not leaving to go to the NFL where I make $8 million at my job, and I'm gonna go make $5 million in the NFL.
But if it was to happen, would you be excited about that? I think you would be
Marcus
excited about
Freeman?
Marcus Freeman being the head coach.
There's probably 4 or 5 other college guys I would like before
Marcus Freeman.
Marcus Freeman. Yeah, and it's
Ooh,
not because he's a bad coach.
Take Kirby Smart out of it. Like he would never leave Georgia.
No, I know, but I'm saying, like, even Marcus Freeman, like, he's been a head coach for what, 3 years?
And look what he's done with Notre Dame.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a bad coach. I think he's a great coach, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I think there are better candidates out there than Marcus Freeman.
All right, go to my next one. Aaron Glenn.
Aaron Glenn
will be phenomenal.
I mean, of your 5, he's who I think would be a better option. To me, like, my issue with Aaron Glenn has nothing to do with his coaching ability, and it has everything to do with the fact that I don't think he will get the job. Something about him just makes me, I don't know, kind of hesitant. And
Somebody's
I think
going to hire him.
Someone's going to hire him, but I can't get over, the fact that, yeah, their defense is much improved this year, but I've also seen them play really bad in some defensive games and have some really poor defensive game plans. And it reminds me a lot of some of the previous defensive coordinators we've had.
He's had the most amount of defensive players on whatever you want to call it list. Like
they've been
injured. Yeah, they've been injured the entire year. And him to keep them afloat. Aaron Glenn's more of like the culture. Like we're trying to copy what the Lions are doing with Dan Campbell. Everyone's trying to do that right now. Like if you install the culture, then everything will just fall in line. And that's the deal with Aaron Glenn. I think the Cowboys for a long time just need a culture change. With just too stuck in the it's okay to be.
Why are we stuck in this culture, Seth?
I mean, you could say Jerry Jones. Yeah,
no, that is the answer. That is the answer.
But I had to watch Jason Garrett for 8 years going.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying, Seth. Like, we're stuck in this rut because of Jerry Jones. We want to change the culture, and we want to hire a guy that we think would come in and overhaul the way things are done. But that's just not going to happen.
You're breaking my heart.
I'm just telling you.
I want to believe he's changed. Look at the Landman episode of him. I think he's changed. That dude was that wasn't even like scripted. That was just emotion coming out. He's changed. He knows he ain't got much time. Okay, let's move on to my first pick overall. And I like this one a lot. I don't know why you don't like it. I think he'd be great.
You want to hire the guy that's currently in a lawsuit, okay, with the NFL.
Yeah, you probably get him on some kind of deal with Roger Goodell. Say, hey, hire this guy. Well, get him on, discount. We'll stop the lawsuits and all that stuff. Like, come on. John Gruden would be a great coach.
I like John Gruden. I mean, I think he's
to get our offense to the potential it needs to. He's a big Dak Prescott fan. I think Dak Prescott would go to new heights with John Gruden, and John Gruden's a huge culture guy as well. I mean, I some of my favorite Hard Knocks episodes were when he was dealing with the Antonio Brown and Raider situation before he was let go. But like the dude's got a big personality, just like Deion Sanders. Like he's some guy that can go in there, in my opinion, not be afraid to talk back. Now, would it be wise to? We don't know because if Jerry's changed or not. But I think John Gruden, X and O part out of this list, I think John Gruden is the best XO guy. Is that wrong to say? Like as far as getting on the board and stalling an offense and doing everything.
No, I mean, yeah, I think of the 5 guys you mentioned, obviously he is the best offensive mind.
He's an offensive guru. He's a genius.
He would check 2 boxes, which is, he's a proven NFL coach. He's won a lot of big games in his career. He's won a Super Bowl. I mean,
he's coached a lot of good coaches.
I don't know. I mean, he's got a great job at Barstool right now. I think he's enjoying what he's doing. I think he would love to get back to the NFL. I just don't know if it would happen with the lawsuit stuff going on right now between him and the NFL.
Before we leave, I guess let's give our or who do you think is going to be it? Not who do you want to be. Who do you think is going to be the next
Oh
football
God.
coach, the head football coach?
If you had to take my money right now on who I thought it would be, this is
Mm-hmm.
not who I want it to be, but who I thought it would be, I'm going to say Kellen Moore. I think Kellen Moore is, if all the things that you're saying is true about Jerry and he's changed, then it won't be. But if it's the Jerry that I know,
I
the
hate
Kellen
that.
Moore is the most likely option, and I'll tell you why. Here's a couple reasons. Number one, okay, he is young, he's inexperienced, which means that Jerry can control him, right?
Yeah.
So you're saying Jerry's changed. I'm saying no chance in hell. He's the same guy he's always been. He's going to hire a guy that he can manipulate and pull the strings and always be behind the scenes and just be right there. Number two, I mean, he's a cowboy. You know, he was here before. You know, Jerry acted like he was heartbroken when he left to take another offensive coordinator job. I could see Jerry bringing him back into the family. You know, he's a guy that knows the organization. He's been around all these players. He's coached Dak before. He's played with Dak. Um, I could see Kellen Moore being the number one option. Um, it's not who I would pick. My pick
Hate that.
personally, this is what I would do if I was in charge of the Dallas Cowboys is I would throw a bag at Ben Johnson. And then I know he's never been a head coach, but to me, he's probably the best offensive coordinator in the league. I watch the Lions games and turn on any game and you're going to find new offensive wrinkles every week, which is something I've been wanting to see from the Cowboys offense since Dak's been here. I think Dak is a really good quarterback, and I think he can do a lot of really good things if you give him the tools to do it. And I think having a great offensive scheme that evolves and adapts and is very creative is going to allow him to flourish. The second thing I would do is I would retain Mike Zimmer. Um, I know at the beginning of the year they started as one of the worst defenses, in the
Bad.
league. But over the course of the year, they got better and better and better, and it would allow you to retain, a defensive-minded former head coach on the sideline. It lets you keep almost your entire defensive staff intact and allows you to continue to build off the success you had there at the end of the year, which they got a lot better defensively. Um, obviously, if you hire Ben Johnson, he's probably going to call plays. So I guess it didn't really matter, who stays as OC or whatnot. But I think if it were up to me, that's what I would do. I would, hey, we're hiring Ben Johnson. I would try to get him to keep Mike Zimmer. Um, I think I don't know Ben Johnson. Obviously, he might have a guy in mind that he wants to come over, a buddy of his, former coach. I don't know, but that would be my selling point. Is hey, we'll give you a lot of money. We'll give you a lot of say so in the personnel and the depth chart. This upcoming draft, like who are some guys you want to target for the offense? You know, keep Mike Zimmer around, lean on him, his experience, help him continue to build this defense and to, turn it into,
Yeah.
What it was under Dan Quinn, which was, a takeaway machine. Um, I think the thing that gets lost is, in a lot of the games that the Cowboys lost, you're behind in the game. So it makes there's a lot of stress put on your defense, to get things done. But I was really impressed with the way they responded, especially in the last half of the season. They were still playing hard. They got better at stopping the run, which was their major weakness at the beginning of the year. Um, that's what I would do. Now, there are a couple of like dream scenarios out there for me of coaches that I would love to hire. Um, but they all go against what I think, you know, is Jerry's inability to just let go. Um,
It just
guys like
all
Nick
depends on what you
Saban
believe.
or do what?
It all depends on what you believe. Is Jerry changed? If Jerry's not changed, So
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this week's episode. It's been a long one.
Good one.
Thanks for
Yep.
tuning in.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're so close to 100 subscribers. We want to get before February 1st. We love all the support y'all been giving us. Just like and share, like and subscribe. Do whatever you can. Tell your mother, tell your brother, tell your sister, tell your auntie, tell whoever you can. Okay? Gibby's No Sports to the moon.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all.
See ya.
Peace out.